Hey everybody, this is Perch. You know what? I'm tired of Perch. Anyway. Sometimes this feels like a force of will, just to myself, how long I'm going to continue this goofy name. Anyway, this is a question from a viewer who this is going to be the most I'm going to use the word woke in a video in quite some time. People still send me angry mail complaining about that video I did where I said I was sick of the term SJW and. If you're one of those people, you need to look in the mirror for a moment. I said I'm sick of it. I said in the video, actually, you could continue to use it 500 more times if you like. I mean, it's your business. I'm personally sick of it. That's it. I don't care. Other people use it. You can be my guest. Anyway, it's weird. The legacy of that video though is my hatred for Arby's. But anyway, so this viewer comes in. I wonder to myself sometimes if publishers having an overtly social justice themed or woke imprint would do any good, where they could place the more social justice oriented writers like Vita Ayala, Tom Taylor, and those sorts of writers to give them political leeway while giving their mainstream creators more creative leeway. I feel like having that would allow for flexibility on sales and allow publishers actually gauge where these writing styles are at in the market. Would it ever happen? Would it be a good or bad thing if it did? That is a thought-provoking question, and I know that a lot of people in the comments are going to have some opinions on this. First off, I mean, kind of dissecting the question. I think that when you say, leave more mainstream writers, the challenge is that comics is it's like a slow. The best way to put it, it's like a slow-moving fish. Is that what is there a slow-moving fish? No, that's a terrible analogy. All right, it's a giant balloon that's about to go down. No, wait a minute. That plays into a different problem. It kind of moves in a direction. It has a gravity to it, and as it moves, other things move with it and move around it. And what I mean by that is that there's a editorial style. There's an editorial kind of point of view in comics right now that says that social topics, these kinds of themes are important. And I don't know I'm going to describe this the best way. I can only go off of some conversations I've had, which is that I've made the point before, just like I have on this channel, that hey, some social themes, like for example, environmentalism or the homeless, are tough to do in comics. And I stand by this. I'm not saying impossible to do. I say tough to do because at some point they fly in opposition of the characters in those comics. If Reed Richards can invent portals that go to other parts of the universe with instant teleportation, if the mutants, I mean, what's weird about the X-Men run that Hickman put together is it's like these mutant drugs will solve a bunch of, Earth problems, a bunch of health issues. We're going to give you these drugs. It's part of the drug trade was part of basically his whole pitch. And the goofy part of that was, I mean, look, later in that comic, they terraformed Mars and made it a mutant planet and declared it's the head of the solar system. So if you can do those things, then are we supposed to believe that, things like an oil spill can happen at all? Like, is Reed Richards not able to come up with some force field technology for oil tankers to prevent spills when he's basically inventing ships to fly around? I mean, in space and go through the negative zone and everything else? Does it make sense? Does it make sense that if you have characters with powers that can basically create? I mean, Magneto could fly into Detroit and instantly fix low-cost affordable housing for 200,000 people. Why isn't he doing that? If you have this threat of domestic terrorism of white nationals who are going to murder people, Professor X could go and just bloop and wipe that out. You might say, oh, Professor X would never use his powers to mentally change people like that, except he has and does, and that's been part of his character. So at some point, you find yourself asking the question: Is Professor X just racist? He's okay with this stuff going on? It's like, the stuff doesn't make sense. And I brought that up to editors. I've said, this is the problem with dipping too much into that stuff. And the best thing you can do is kind of ignore it, at least in the mainstream comics, because your characters always wind up looking worse as a if you start to tap into that, it opens up Pandora's box of goofy questions. And the answer I got back is our readers aren't paying that close attention, which was sucker punch number one to me. And also it's like, you clearly have never been in a comic shop if you believe that, but whatever. But the second answer is the one that I think speaks to your question here, which is it's imperative of us as people who are creating content to talk to these important items. It's imperative, not just hey, it could make us money, but it is imperative that we do this. Why is it imperative? Why? What does that even mean? It's imperative. We're supposed to address bigotry and the homelessness and environmental damage, because if we don't, we're not raising awareness for these things. That is a editorial mandate. It's a company point of view that is everywhere. So that I bring all that up because you mentioned, could they create an imprint that does this kind of stuff, and then give the mainstream writers more creative leeway? The problem is this is a choice that the company is making, that they want the comics and need the comics to go in some of these directions. Now, to actually talk to your question though, is if it's a good idea. Yeah, I think it is a good idea. Accepting one big thing, and we'll get to that one big thing in a moment. But putting that aside for the moment, yeah, if you could take a handful of comics, like maybe what they do with Milestone, and say, hey, we're going to speak to a very specific audience. We're going to speak to social themes here. We're going to, they're not going to call it the woke comic imprint, but hell, some independent comic creator could probably do that. It'd be pretty hilarious. But, nobody is, putting that stuff in one place and hiring some writers who are really good at that type of storytelling, and then going all in, saying, this line of comics will address those issues. It's going to explain why a Reed Richards isn't just fixing all the problems. It's going to explain why, Superman is and the Flash are okay with, letting people, not having affordable housing and not doing things, even though they, again, could solve this problem relatively quickly. I think that would be smart. Now, what's the big thing? Well, actually, there's probably several big things. Number one, I don't believe the comic publishers are even kind of thinking about who's good or bad at these types of stories. I think they're just plugging people in wherever they want. I mean, somebody told Vita Ayala that she's good at, somebody told Vita Ayala that they are good at stories that are kid-based, that great for writing kind of authentic kids. I mean, I don't think so, but your mileage may vary, but whatever. The point is, I don't think that the comic companies, the publishers, are really understand their people in a way that would translate to forming a logical imprint. I also, and maybe this is the bigger issue, I don't think this would sell, because fundamentally, I think the audience for this type of comic, for kind of quote unquote a woke imprint, is there. I don't know that they're out there that would buy comics. There are some, for sure. There are some that really enjoy those stories. There's some people out there right now who are really, really hyped about Tom Taylor's John Kent story, which is leaning more into social type topics, and cool. I just don't know that there's a sustainable amount of those people. I think there's some, but I also think that if you've got a comic industry today that all in, a comic like this is selling 40,000, 50,000 copies, if you start to carve it up into imprints like this, I think pretty soon you're down at the 15,000, 16,000, and then I don't know if, and even that's probably a stretch. I don't know that the industry could actually even support those numbers. You'd see an interesting chain reaction. You'd see people, if they did this, you'd see that the rates for the people who are writing in this imprint would have to fall, and then the whole thing would topple over. But it arguably, and this is one of the things that I've always kind of wondered, is why doesn't an independent comic company come in and say, you know what, we're doing social justice themed stuff. Not we're Valiant and we're going to change what we had into this, but rather we're just going to go all in, something new, something fresh, something people can jump in on. Issue number one, get this content. We are unashamedly woke. And you can get those comics and you can buy. I mean, why not do that? Somebody should do that. Absolutely. I'm all in favor of people basically doing truth in advertising. And I know there will be people again in the comments who will be like putting in the vomit emoji and other things, but it is I am always in favor of somebody saying this is who we are, this is what we're doing, this is the product that you would be buying if you buy this product. Here it is. You get what you asked for. Here you go. I would like that. I'd like to see more of it, and I'd like to see things maybe a little bit more specific. The problem is it wouldn't sell. Is it just? I don't think it would be something that could go over and actually do well. And then, kind of you're right back to where you started. I also, and this is maybe the weirder part, I'm not sure a lot of people understand that what they're doing. I every now and then I have a conversation with a creator that everybody on YouTube is labeling as woke. And I talk to them and they're like, I have no idea what these people are talking about. I'm just writing a comic. And that's interesting on a different level because that tells me that anyway, that's a whole other video, a whole other problem. But anyway, I don't know. Very good question. It's food for thought. I'm really curious to see what people in the comments say. But I would be all for more efforts of people saying, hey, this group of comics right here, these 5, 6, 20 comics, whatever it happens to be, these comics are all about this. If you buy this, you're getting this. And just make it clear, go for it. I think that would be healthy. But it certainly make it easier. I know I'm not that will people will still bitch, but at the very least, nobody could bitch because they were caught by surprise. It's like, hey, we advertised that we're about this, we delivered it, like it or not. I'm in favor of more of those things. What about you? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and thanks for listening.